We can all have safe drinking water in the United States free of lead, but it's probably going to cost us about $30 billion. There's a lot in that one sentence that we need to talk about. I promise I'm going to get to all of it. I'm going to tell you what's going on, and I'm going to tell you what you can do now to make sure your family is drinking safe water. But first, I want to thank my subscribers for voting for this story as the bonus this week. If you want to vote too, you can subscribe to my page during my next live event, or you can subscribe by following these steps right now. So in case you didn't know, according to the United States government, there are more than 9 million lead service line pipes in use to this day in this country that are still delivering water to families and neighborhoods across America. These lead pipes have been hidden underground for decades, and according to the CDC, the water that comes from these pipes can pose a risk to health and well-being of those who drink that water. Now, the use of lead pipes was actually banned in the United States in the 1980s, but millions of those pipes are still in use because they're difficult to track down and really expensive to replace, especially according to the Environmental Protection Agency in low-income communities that have a disproportionate number of them in that area. So that's the problem. And when President Biden took office, he promised to remove all the lead pipes in the United States by the year 2031. So just a few weeks ago, the EPA rolled out this new proposed rule that mandates all water utilities and water companies in this country locate those lead pipes, dig them up, and replace them in the next 10 years. The rule also mandates that the water utilities locate those lead pipes and come up with an action plan to replace them by the fall of 2024. Sounds reasonable, right? Well, the problem is the cost. In the bipartisan infrastructure bill that was passed in 2022, Congress allocated about $27 billion of taxpayer money to specifically remove these pipes and clean up the drinking water systems. The EPA estimates it's actually going to cost about $45 billion to do all of that, but the water industry thinks the number is going to be closer to about $60 billion. And like with everything, costs just keep going up the longer the process takes. So you can see the math isn't mathing. And there's clearly a shortfall of at least $30 billion. So who's going to pay for that? At this point, no one really knows. Will Congress have to allocate more money? Will the utility companies charge all of us more in our water bills? It's just unclear. Now, this is just a proposed rule at this point. This still has to go through the public comment period, so things could change. But it's hard to imagine how a $30 billion shortfall is just going to magically go away. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. So what's so bad about lead in drinking water? Well, according to the CDC and the EPA, there are no safe levels of lead in drinking water. But the current law says if more than 10% of the sites sampled of drinking water in an area exceeds the action level of 15 parts per billion of lead, the utility has to take steps to improve its corrosion controls in the pipes and replace at least 3% of the lead service lines annually. So not only is this new proposed rule that I'm talking about requiring utilities to remove the pipes altogether, but it's also proposing lowering the action level of lead to 10 parts per billion instead of 15. Now, exposure to lead in drinking water can cause serious issues for babies and young kids, including behavioral issues. And in adults, it can increase the risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, kidney or nervous system problems. Now to the important part about how to know if your drinking water is coming from one of these lead pipes or if there's lead in your water. First, you need to contact your water utility and ask them if your house is connected to a lead service line. If you have a well, you need to contact your health department. Now, if you ask, both will come out and test your water. Now, keep in mind, if there is any amount of lead in your drinking water, it may not be coming from a lead service line. You may have a copper pipe in your house that has lead in it, especially if that pipe was installed before 1986. You may also have a galvanized pipe in your house that can include some lead particles, or you may have a faucet that could contain lead, so you need to check all of those things too. Now, the EPA has this really handy, easy, step-by-step guide to figure it all out, including a script for you to read to your water company to get the answers you need. And if you want it, I will email that guide along with all the information about this new proposed lead rule in my Newsgirl News Roundup email on Monday night, so make sure you follow these steps and sign yourself up.